What made something scary to you in horror games? If you think about it for a second, it wasn't something that was super dangerous. It was something that was difficult to put down, if not something you just couldn't put down. Well, in this case, it wasn't a monster per se, it was a human. Although calling him just a human would be an understatement. A man only known by his call sign, HUNK, and by many of his nicknames, Mr. Death and the Grim Reaper, known for his ability to consistently survive and for always being the only one left standing after the countless deadly missions he was sent on. So who really is he? And how did he manage to survive every time? What really happened to him and his squad during Operation NESTWRECKER, arguably his most important mission? And more importantly, where did he even go after Umbrella was finished? Umbrella was always researching, developing, and testing new biological weapons. They were doing the kind of things that could go wrong at any moment, and they knew this very well. So, as they grew pharmaceutically, they also grew militarily. They set up multiple paramilitary units to send in whenever things went south. Since Umbrella was working heavily with viral research, they created a team of private military contractors to act as their biohazard response force. This unit was called the UBCS, Umbrella Biohazard Countermeasure Service. They were responsible for managing and containing any biohazard outbreaks caused by Umbrella's experiments. UBCS units were deployed into outbreak zones to rescue civilians, secure company assets, and eliminate bioorganic threats. The UBCS had multiple platoons, ranging from retired Soviet Army officers to convicted terrorists on death row. These weren't just mercenaries, they were expendable weapons designed to do Umbrella's dirty work. But there was one unit even deeper in the shadows, the unit Umbrella relied on to do the dirtiest work. That was the USS, Umbrella Security Service. This group was made up of operatives a cut above the rest, Black Ops agents, covert specialists, elite soldiers trained for missions so sensitive they were completely off the record. The USS was Umbrella's internal security and Black Ops force, responsible for espionage, targeted assassinations, facility lockdowns, and asset recovery missions like stealing or destroying bioweapons. They also guarded Umbrella's highest level research sites and eliminated threats, often permanently. Every USS team reported directly to Umbrella's top executives, keeping everything sealed under layers of corporate secrecy. These soldiers were handpicked and trained at isolated facilities far away from the public eye. The USS was made up of elite strike teams and specialized squads. Unlike regular guards and soldiers, they wore black tactical gear and gas masks. Teams were small, surgical, and ruthlessly efficient. As Umbrella's most trusted paramilitary force, the USS operated even above the UBCS or Intelligence Division. In its later years, Umbrella pushed the concept further, experimenting with reanimated cyborg enforcers called Undertakers, grotesque soldiers built for corpse disposal and biohazard cleanup. But even among all these tools, the USS stood at the top. The Umbrella Security Service was formed sometime before 1988, during a period of internal conflict between Umbrella's founding partners. As the company's research into bioweapons escalated, so did the power struggle behind the scenes. Oswell E. Spencer, the primary founder, began eliminating his former allies to seize total control. After dealing with Edward Ashford, his next target was Dr. James Marcus, one of the original visionaries behind Umbrella's viral research. In 1988, Spencer ordered the USS to carry out one of their earliest known internal operations, a covert assassination of Marcus at the Umbrella Management Training Facility. 2 USS operatives executed the mission with clinical precision, shooting Marcus at point-blank range. The facility was quietly shut down and Umbrella secured Marcus's work. As Umbrella's need for elite soldiers grew, the USS expanded its infrastructure. In 1993, the corporation established a new training center on Rockfort Island, transforming it into the primary academy for USS operatives and select UBCS mercenaries. The island, once owned by the Ashford family, was placed under the command of Alfred Ashford, who personally oversaw its militarization. The existing civilian population was evicted, and the island was rebuilt as a sprawling paramilitary complex, complete with barracks, armories, biohazard labs, and combat arenas. By December 1993, the facility was operational and it quickly earned a grim reputation. Recruits were subjected to live-fire exercises, hand-to-hand and knife combat training, psychological stress tests, and brutal survival trials against live BOWs bred on-site. Deaths during training were not just expected, they were built into the system. The goal was clear: only the most lethal and unbreakable would graduate. In 1996, the facility welcomed a new member, known only by his codename HUNK. This cold and calculating operative showed a chilling level of composure and precision. He had a strong preference for close quarters combat, often using a hidden blade mounted to his arm. During his time on Rockfort, he also served as a combat mentor, training Delta Team recruit Vector in martial arts and stealth tactics, skills Vector would later become known for. Despite his reputation for emotional detachment, HUNK's rare concern for teammates surfaced during critical operations, hinting at a strict but personal code of loyalty. His peers rarely saw him speak, and his rivals, like the equally dangerous Nikolai Zinoviev of the UBCS, only deepened the mystery around him. But it was during Rockfort's final field test, where his entire squad was wiped out, that HUNK emerged the sole survivor. That mission cemented his legacy and earned him names like Mr. Death, the Grim Reaper, and God of Death. While HUNK continued to build his reputation through specialized operations, the rest of Umbrella's security infrastructure was unraveling. In July 1998, the Arklay Mountains lab hidden beneath the Spencer Mansion suffered a catastrophic T-virus outbreak. Local USS security teams imposed a brutal quarantine, sealing the area and using lethal force on any fleeing personnel. Despite these efforts, the virus spread, infecting nearly all staff. Within weeks, the entire site was consumed by chaos and destroyed in a controlled explosion. Simultaneously, Umbrella attempted to reopen James Marcus's old training school using a joint team of USS and maintenance personnel, only for the operation to end in disaster when mutant leeches overran the Ecliptic Express and facility. Delta Team reinforcements were wiped out within hours. But HUNK was not involved in either of these failures. These missions were handled by lower priority or local USS units, while HUNK and his elite Alpha team were reserved for high-risk missions of greater strategic value, like the one that would soon unfold in Raccoon City. As tensions within Umbrella escalated in 1998, one of their most valuable assets began to slip through their fingers: Dr. William Birkin, a gifted virologist and the architect behind the newly developed GVirus. Birkin had been a key figure in Umbrella's bioorganic weapons research since the 1980s, having co-developed the T-virus alongside Albert Wesker. But unlike Wesker, Birkin remained with Umbrella for longer, fueled by obsession rather than loyalty. By the early 1990s, he had been promoted to chief researcher of NEST, a sprawling underground lab hidden beneath Raccoon City's chemical plant. There, he worked in secrecy with his wife, Dr. Annette Birkin, to perfect the GVirus, an evolution of the T-virus capable of inducing intelligent mutation and reproductive propagation in its hosts. However, despite his enormous contributions, Birkin grew disillusioned with Umbrella. Years of political roadblocks and broken promises, particularly his denied promotion to Umbrella's executive board, pushed him to seek other options. Realizing the GVirus's worth, Birkin entered secret negotiations with the US military, planning to defect in exchange for asylum and protection for his family. In return, he would deliver samples of the GVirus, giving the US government access to bioweapons technology that rivaled Umbrella's. Unbeknownst to him, Umbrella had spies within the military. As soon as Birkin's betrayal was confirmed, Umbrella activated USS Alpha Team led by HUNK to carry out a covert strike to infiltrate NEST, recover the GVirus samples, and bring Birkin in alive. The operation codenamed NESTWRECKER was scheduled for late September 1998, just days before the Raccoon City outbreak. Alpha Team made their way through NEST and made contact with Birkin in the underground lab. HUNK and his men were instructed to bring him in alive if possible, but to secure the virus above all else. When confronted, Birkin resisted arrest, declaring the GVirus his life's work. In the chaos, team member Martinez panicked and opened fire, mortally wounding Birkin.
What the fuck were you thinking? Our orders were to bring him in alive! We're in, sir. But we had a snafu. Target resisted. We had to take him out.
Though HUNK reprimanded him, he didn't report Martinez's actions to command, instead taking the blame himself, a rare show of loyalty from a man known for his icy detachment. With Birkin down, Kirkpatrick, another Alpha Team operative, retrieved the GVirus samples and the team began their extraction. But Birkin, on the brink of death, had one last card to play. He injected himself with the backup GVirus sample. The results were catastrophic. Birkin's body mutated into a massive berserk bioweapon fueled by instinct and revenge. Now a G creature, he ambushed HUNK's team in the sewers. One by one, Alpha Team was wiped out. Only HUNK survived, barely escaping with a single salvage sample. The suitcase recovered by Alpha Team also contained T-virus samples, which were released into the sewer system during the assault. Rats feeding on the samples carried the virus into Raccoon City's water supply. Within days, the population of over 100,000 was infected or killed, leading to the full-scale outbreak that would later necessitate the city's destruction. Alone and surrounded by chaos, HUNK vanished for a few days, hiding in the sewers beneath Raccoon Police Department. His break came when Alpha Team's pilot, Nighthawk, finally made contact and arranged an extraction.
This is Nighthawk. Come in, Alpha. Alpha, do you read?
Nighthawk, this is HUNK from Alpha Team.
Man, I thought you were all wiped out. I've been trying
I'm at point K-12. Need info on my extraction.
Guess there's no keeping down the Grim Reaper, huh?
My extraction point.
Relax, Mr. Reaper. I'm headed toward the front gate of RPD. Pick you up there.
Got it.
He had just 15 minutes before a US thermobaric missile would wipe Raccoon City off the map. HUNK fought his way through a gauntlet of BOWs and zombies, including a T-00 Tyrant, to reach the evac point. But time ran out. Nighthawk was about to leave and was stunned when HUNK calmly radioed in.
HUNK, time's up.
Go, Nighthawk. Get out.
I'm not gonna just
This
leave
is war.
you.
Survival's your responsibility.
God damn it.
Bleeding, exhausted, and with no hope left, HUNK forced his way to the RPD gate, only to find out that Nighthawk had returned.
Why'd you come back?
I wanted to meet the Grim Reaper.
Despite the overwhelming loss of life, HUNK survived. Operation NESTWRECKER had failed in manpower, but its core objective, recovering the G-virus, was accomplished. After his extraction, HUNK continued his mission, delivering the sample to Umbrella's Loire village facility in France. Acting under direct orders from Umbrella Europe's director Christine Henry, he successfully handed off the virus in early October 1998, completing one of Umbrella's most dangerous recovery operations. After successfully delivering the G-virus to Umbrella Europe, HUNK's next assignment seemed routine, at least on paper. Sometime following October 1998, he and the newly assembled squad were ordered to retrieve and transport a sealed container from Umbrella's Antarctic transport terminal to Rockfort Island. The mission came with minimal briefing. The team was told nothing about what the container held, only that the delivery was to be made without delay and without inspection. For a man as meticulous and mission-focused as HUNK, the lack of transparency was troubling. The incident with Birkin had already taught him how dangerous unknowns could be, and he didn't want to take any chances. But still, orders were orders, and Umbrella trusted no one more than the Grim Reaper when it came to sensitive operations. The mission proceeded without combat or interference. The cargo was successfully delivered to Rockfort Island, but in his post-operation report, HUNK made a rare move. He formally expressed concern. He criticized Umbrella for withholding intel about the container's contents, warning that such secrecy put his team at unnecessary risk. If the cargo had been a live BOW or experimental virus, as it very likely was, they would have had no time to prepare in the event of an outbreak or containment failure during transport. As later events revealed, the container almost certainly held the T-078 Tyrant, a next-generation BOW later deployed on Rockfort Island during the viral outbreak that followed the HCF assault. The tyrant's presence, unleashed amid chaos, supports Hunk's suspicion that his team had been unwittingly transporting a high-level bioweapon without proper safety protocols. The fact that Umbrella withheld this intel only reinforced the idea that even their most elite operatives were expendable. This may seem like a small footnote in Hunk's career, but it's a telling one. It revealed his quiet but unshakable loyalty, not to Umbrella, but to the soldiers under his command. He followed orders, but not blindly. When the safety of his squad was compromised, he pushed back, even if it was very subtle. And in the cold, indifferent machinery of Umbrella's war machine, that made Hunk an anomaly. This mission also marks the last officially recorded USS operation involving Hunk before Umbrella's collapse in 2003. But Hunk didn't vanish with the company, he adapted. In the years following Umbrella's downfall, he became a legendary mercenary for hire, taking on dangerous assignments involving bioorganic weapons for private clients, rival corporations, and even black market groups. No longer bound to any one entity, he carved out his own path in the shadows. During this time, he developed an efficient fighting style known as Close Quarters Quarantine Battle Zone, designed specifically for combat in biohazard zones. Though some speculate his retrieval of the GVirus helped fuel the global BOW black market, Hunk remained as silent and professional as ever. Files referencing him grew rare, sightings even rarer, but his reputation only solidified. Mr. Death wasn't tied to Umbrella, he was a force all his own. While this is all we know about him from the main canon storyline, a few additional details about Hunk come from supplemental material and bonus content. In Resident Evil Outbreak, a cheat mod allows players to control him without his iconic helmet, revealing a fully rendered face. This appearance is relatively consistent with the few rare glimpses seen in other non-canon material, such as the 8th epilogue in Resident Evil 3. Although never officially confirmed, it's widely believed that HUNK is actually an acronym for Human Unit Never Killed. He's also appeared in various spin-offs and multiplayer titles, including Resident Evil RE-Verse and Operation Raccoon City. In the Mercenaries 3D, he features an unlockable outfit called Mr. Death, while Revelations introduces a non-canon alternate skin known as Lady Hunk. These appearances, though outside the core narrative, show just how iconic the Grim Reaper has become. Of all the weapons Umbrella ever created, Hunk was among the most dangerous, even though he was just human. But with no emotion, no identity, and no humanity left, can he even be called that anymore? In the end, he was merely an extension of Umbrella, a disposable tool with no say in the company's downfall. He did what he was told, nothing more. And it was those very commands that led Umbrella to destroy itself. It didn't fail because its soldiers failed. It fell because it treated them like machines. Hunk was one of their finest, precise, obedient, and unshakable. But when a person loses all trace of choice, feeling, and self, what's really left? Hunk survived everything. But what exactly survived? A man or just the ghost of one? Maybe that's what makes him scary. And as long as he's out there, the Grim Reaper still walks.
What about you, sir? I lost the sample. I'm going back for it.